Good morning, everyone. It looks like my light needs to be brought up a little bit, but I think we have to just cope with that. Welcome back. Today, we're going to answer a lot of questions. And of course, anything that I say is not meant to give you any type of solutions to healthcare before you check with your doctor. Steve, we have a lot of callers ready to ask questions. Let's just dive right in.
You sure do. And first up is James Morgan, who tried to get to us from Ethiopia last week, but was having trouble with his internet. So without further ado, we can't get his camera up. But James, you are on with Dr. Berg. Please state your question.
Yes. Please, Dr. Berg, I'm happy to be here. I hope you can hear me.
Dr. Berg, can you hear him?
Hello?
No, I can't hear him. Can you?
Can you hear me?
Let's see. I can. Hang on just a second. Let me try to bring him in here.
We have problem here of the internet. We have problem. Now I can't hear you again. Can you hear me, please?
Well, I'm sorry, James, I can. Here's what I'd like you to do.
Yes, I can hear you very, very, very low. Can you raise up your voice? I can't hear you much. Can you say that again?
I tell you what, James.
Oh, wait.
Oh, can you hear him?
Wait, say something, James.
But it was working.
Okay, I can hear you now.
Oh, good.
I don't know, but...
Go ahead with your question. Dr. Berg can hear you.
I'm very happy to be here, Dr. Berg. I hope you can hear me now.
He
Yes.
can. Go ahead with your question, James.
Okay, please. Dr. Berg, mine will not be really a question. I'm just want to say thank you very much. I was very, very sick. My wife and I, we were very sick. We were having insulin resistance. I myself was a blown up diabetic. I was a diabetic. And it was the Christmas of last year that we happened to be in Nairobi, Kenya. And that was my first time to come across your videos. These days, doctor, anything on the video, people don't take it serious because many things, videos, YouTube, the social media is being corrupted with so many things. In the first place, I didn't believe that it was real. But I decided to take few minutes to listen to you. I listened that video to the end. I said, is this really real or just things of the social media? And then I continued, I subscribed, and then I started receiving your videos. Then I continued watching you for almost a week. Right from there, we decided to put it on trial. First of all, we started that, let us try 2 meals a day. 16 hours, 8 hours of eating window, and 16 hours of fasting. When we tried it, doctor, it was showing some improvements that I could wake up in the morning without having dizziness, heavy pains, and so on and so on. So for 2 weeks, I said, no, let us go for a meal, OMAD, 1 meal a day. That was now January 2022.
Yeah, 13th of January.
13th of January. We followed it very, very strictly. We went on. 3 months later, we went for checkup. The results were very amazing. The doctor asked, what have you done? What have you done? I said, what have I done? I've just followed the instructions from one of the doctors in US, and these seem to be helpful. For the first time, my A1C dropped to 5.3.
Wow, that's fantastic.
That was wonderful. And then my fasting blood sugar that morning was almost like 90.
By the way, James, I'm sorry we're just a little short on time, but man, we're really excited to hear the grand progress that you've made. Why don't you, this would be one of those great things for a testimonial. If you could, write into drberg.com. Dr. Berg, can you give us a little more guidance on how he can do a testimonial?
Hey, James, thank you so much for that success story. And I really want to hear the whole thing. The only thing is I have a whole series of people in line waiting. So We have to do it quick, but definitely send me the whole write-up. This is amazing. This is amazing. You went to your doctor, your A1C came down, your blood sugars came down. I'm doing one OMAD. You probably did keto as well. This is awesome. Awesome. I'm blown away that, it's just not so more obvious to the average doc that, well, we got high sugar, so maybe we should change the diet and lower the sugar. So unfortunately, what's missing in the healthcare system is the creation of health. It is kind of more of the management of symptoms. But there's not a lot of things to create health. And one thing is to lower the sugars, increase the nutrient dense foods. If you take a look at a place where they need nutrient dense foods the most, that would be in a hospital, right? But what do they serve people in the hospital? Institutional foods, the same foods that they serve prisoners. It's just so bad. It's like worse than the standard American diet. So, when I had my shoulder work done, I was like, oh, wow, what am I going to eat? So they had some Jell-O and crackers and some beef that looked like it was like completely processed. It was just so bad. So anyway, Steve, let's go on to the next topic. Okay.
The next topic is we have 6, not 5, but 6 exciting quiz questions. And here's the first one.
All right, let's see here. So what is the most important anti-stress hormone in the body? Okay, so you have all this cortisol, all this stress. Did you realize that there's another hormone that counters all this? What would that be? This might be new information, but it's very exciting because it's something brand new I haven't really discussed in any of my YouTube channel videos.
Very good. Okay, let's go over to social media. Victoria from Facebook, please share any advice you have on clearing up stretch marks.
I did a video on this. I think the best thing you're dealing with the elastin in the skin is like a rubber band, right? And so now the elastin is overstretched, or the collagen fibers have overstretched. Now it's like they leave these little marks. So you're going to have to clean up that through various things, increasing circulation to the area. You can rub the superficial part of the skin with a kind of they have brushes that you can, when you're in the shower, you can do that. As well as, I would think the biggest thing would be prolonged fasting, where you're going through autophagy and your body's recycling these old damaged proteins. And then the third thing is I would rub vitamin E oil into your skin, and that will help break up some of the scar tissue. The same thing if you have pock marks from acne. Vitamin E is a really good kind of an anti-fibrotic, kind of a breaking up scar tissue vitamin.
Wow, that's interesting. Okay, let's see. I also want to go to Michelle in Germany because she keeps popping off and on. Not to insult your internet there in Germany, but for some reason it's not behaving. So stand by, unmute yourself, dear, and you are on with Dr. Berg.
Am I unmuted?
You are. Go ahead with your question,
Okay.
Michelle.
All right. So I'm having trouble maintaining ketosis. I'm hearing a lot of background stuff. I don't know. So I'm having trouble maintaining ketosis, and I have a history of prolactinoma. I had surgery in 2018 and a number of medical problems. So I'm not sure what's going on. I'm doing intermittent fasting. I thought I was keeping my carbohydrates pretty low, but my fasting glucose levels are higher than my right after eating. So I'm a little confused.
So are you on a really low carbohydrate diet?
Probably not as low as 0, but it's pretty low.
Okay.
Mostly salmon, vegetables, and salad.
So I think a really good product, because you had surgery on this tumor, right?
Yeah.
So I think if you took a standard, it's a standard process product called pituitrophin. It's called pituitrophin PMG. I would take one before bed because a lot of times when you have surgery, that can affect other hormones. And I think there could be an issue with that. I've seen that before, and just trying to regulate this hormone flow. And then the other thing that I think would help you, just to realize that some of that blood sugar issue that might be too high is probably being made by your own liver. It's not, you're not eating sugar, so your liver's just making it. So you might have to just do something to burn that extra sugar off to get you into deeper ketosis. And with time, that will improve if you just maintain that all over time. But you might want to exercise, burn that extra sugar off every day. And then that will the kind of counter what you're dealing with, and do other things to stabilize your blood sugars too, like the cinnamon. You can put some cinnamon on your toast. I'm being very sarcastic now. Just cinnamon, apple cider vinegar is another good one, and berberine, because you probably have some insulin resistance that you just have to break through, and it takes some time.
Okay.
Well, that's terrific. Well, thank you so much, Michelle, and I'm glad we were able to get you on the air. And let's see, I'm looking for answers, Terry. I'm not sure. Let me look through this list. I don't think I see it yet. In the meantime, we've got Michelle from Germany, and we've got Paz from Denmark. We'll have her up shortly. We've got another one from Manila, Jennifer. And in addition to that, we'd like to say good morning to our viewers joining us from the UK, Canada, Sweden, Ethiopia. And that was James, by the way. Taiwan, Australia, India, Cyprus, Nigeria, Spain, Sweden, Turkey, Mongolia. Good grief. Haven't heard from them in a while. France, Ghana, Israel, Mexico, Greece, Malaysia, Kenya, the Philippines. There we go, Jennifer. Germany, Kuwait, Estonia, South Africa, Italy, Trinidad and Tobago, Japan, Egypt, Switzerland, the Netherlands. There's another one. We've got. Let's see. Is Denmark in the Netherlands? Shake your head, Paz, if I'm correct. I'm not sure if that is. Anyway, that's up there. Czech Republic, Poland, Lithuania, Chile, Oman, Singapore, Hungary, Indonesia, Belgium, New Zealand, Pakistan, Denmark, Peru, Colombia, Russia, Austria, and all across these United States. So thanks everybody for participating. And in fact, all our guests again are from out of town somewhere. So thanks so much for participating and making the show such a success, everyone. And let's see. Well, let's go back to back to social media with Facebook. Linda from Facebook, I have heart failure. What advice would you share to help me? I guess congenital heart failure, is that what that is, maybe?
Well, the best thing to take from a nutrient angle, other than go on the healthy version of keto and intermittent fasting immediately, is to find some, it's called tocotrienol. It's a vitamin E, tocotrienol, that is very, very good for the heart. Heart protective. There's many things that are heart protective, cardioprotective that you can take with natural nutritional things. So that's the simpler version. And of course, the two things that really destroy the heart are refined grains and refined sugars. So that's kind of what I would do immediately. And I think you might be able to pull yourself out. I have a lot of videos on the cardiovascular system. Watch them all and apply the information. Steve, I had a comment that someone was, asking, well, they kind of had a disagreement. They're like, why do you, I like your information, but why do you sell nutritional products? It's kind of a conflict of interest. And I said, well, would you rather have someone who doesn't know about nutrition, market, or sell products, health products, right? I mean, for example, I'll give you an example. I recently got this email from my manufacturing company who helps me with the making the vitamins. And out of 3,500 other clients that they've worked with over the years, no one has ever asked or requested a product without maltodextrin, except me, because I don't want that in any of my products. And he said 99.9% of all these products that involve like spraying powders and also like flavorings have hidden maltodextrin, right? So this is another reason why if someone's promoting products, you got to make sure that you don't have these hidden things in there. And so I would recommend reaching out to the company that's selling you a product and then making sure that they send you documentation that ours are not with maltodextrin or hidden things like that, because it's just so invasive. It's just all over the place. And this maltodextrin is way worse than sugar and glucose. On the glycemic index, it's like way higher than 100, and glucose is 100. So here we are trying to get in keto. We're trying to lower our carbs. And then you're taking nutrition, you're thinking that might be helping you, but it could be filled with sugar unknowingly. So I just wanted to put that out there. And that's one thing that you have to watch for.
Well, I tell you what, as a fly on the wall, I work in and around Dr. Berg and his lovely wife, Karen. And I don't know if I'm at liberty to say this, but let me tell you something. I know for a fact that he pays a great deal more for the ingredients that go into all these various supplements. Because I hate to call you obsessive, Doc, but I think that's what it is. You're not going to put out a rotten product, and your and Karen's health is reflective of that. And John from Ethiopia talked about it, but it really is. I can assure you, folks, that he is not looking to just slap. Dr. Berg is not looking to slap a label on a bottle and get it out there. He really scrutinizes over it, and I'm a benefactor of many of his supplements. I'm a nutritional yeast freak, and so on. But anyway, thank you for that, Dr. Berg. And I just got to throw that in because, again, I see the inner workings of the company, and I know what he goes through to put out these products, and it ain't nothing like the other people that just sort of sling the, foreign ingredients and put a label on it and call it great. So let's see. We've got a quiz question answer, and the first quiz question was, what is the most important anti-stress hormone in the body? And our audience, 65% of them say melatonin, 30% say serotonin, and 5% say insulin.
Wow. You guys are close, but it's oxytocin. Now, oxytocin normally, is related to the birthing process with the contraction of the uterus, the lactation, the bonding between a mother and a baby. But I recently did a whole deep dive in oxytocin, which blew me away. It has also a huge factor in regulating cortisol and stress and buffering your stress response. And so in a video that I'm going to release very soon, I'm going to show you how to trigger oxytocin, and it has nothing to do with nutrition. They found, anything social, bonding with, another person, volunteering, sharing something, reading a story, like all these things that involve helping another increase oxytocin, which is fascinating because if you ever think about the last time you helped someone, were you stressed? Your stress went down. You would never connect the dots there, but there's definitely a therapy of just helping in general, which actually has a lot to do with this, one aspect, just the oxytocin from a physical standpoint, reducing your stress, so this just kind of goes beyond just, getting on the right diet, exercise, that type of thing. But just stay tuned for that video. It's actually very, very interesting.
Wonderful. Next question, doctor.
Okay. What is the most important vitamin in preventing a stroke?
I'm on it, audience. I know you have some answers. And here is a good question, and I just lost it. Let's see. Oh, here we go. Jolie from YouTube. While we're fasting, what should we do to address the lack of minerals during this period? I have also been diagnosed with, oh my goodness, breast cancer. Well, Godspeed to you, Jolie.
You need to take minerals, electrolytes while you're fasting. Very important. So many people don't, because think about what's going to happen is the first thing that happens when you start fasting is you're going to start to use up your stored glycogen. That is stored sugar, okay, in your liver and some in the muscle as well, okay? So you're going to use that up, and then you're going to start burning fat. Well, guess what's in the glycogen? You have potassium. And so you're going to dump a lot of fluid because this glucose also holds water. So with that loss of glycogen, water, you also lose potassium. So if you're not taking the potassium, you can end up with a deficiency, especially if you don't consume 10 cups of vegetables a day like I do. And then, so if you have cancer, you should watch my other videos on cancer. There's a lot of things you can do, but probably the most important thing you can do is start doing prolonged fasting immediately. Depending on the severity of the cancer, like let's say you had stage 4, if it was me, I would start with a 21-day fast starting yesterday because it's more severe and you want to create the biggest impact. There's other things to do, but the fasting is the most potent thing, and it's not too expensive. So everyone can afford fasting.
All right. Well, I can't afford to give out my observations on geography because Terry says I'm getting roasted on my Denmark, Netherlands remark. He says 2 different countries, bro. So I'm going to be very careful in the future before I start slinging those geographic areas about. But you learn something new every day. So by the way, folks, Denmark is not part of the Netherlands. Thank you. All right. Well, let's see. Let's go on. Terry also mentions that hugging also increases oxytocin.
Yes.
Yes. So
hugging does. So start, of course, I wouldn't suggest just start hugging everyone out, no matter who they are, just all day long, because, that comes with the package. But I would just hug those that, especially like even, what's another thing that triggers that? I think volunteering for something. I was like, wow, that's interesting. You're contributing to something and you feel good about it and your stress goes down. So it's a fascinating topic.
Fantastic. Well, by the way, when we do our shout out to people all over the world, I think it's really fun that some other people say, hey, what about us? And Terry is always on the side of the viewers, so he added a few more. We'll do a shout out to those joining us from Kyrgyzstan, Vietnam, Qatar, you'll have to spell that phonetically for me, Terry. Mumbai, Ireland, Croatia, Cambodia, Papua New Guinea, Jamaica, Dubai, Serbia, and Slovakia. So thanks, everybody. And we don't forget about any of you, and we'll continue to give you shout outs as you pop on here. Okay, let's see. Pictam from YouTube, can you please discuss the effect of black seed oil as a way to strengthen our immune system? Any comment on that, Doc?
That's a really good one. Black seed oil is a potent anti-inflammatory. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Antimicrobial, anti-cancer. It helps to regulate estrogen metabolism. It helps to balance your endocrine system. It does a lot of things. So if you have access to that, I would take that on a regular basis. If you're watching my videos, you may have noticed that I'm kind of just talking a little bit more about DNA and some of the DNA testing. And I'm doing a huge deep dive. Fascinating topic. But what that's about, and stay tuned for a better explanation with that. But if you check your genes and you can find the most important areas for you personally to focus on, because your genes have been given to you by your ancestors, and there are certain genes that are permanent, but other genes are not. And your environment has a lot to do with, and your epigenetic factors have a lot to do with whether these genes are going to be expressed or not. So for me, personally, my greatest weakness is in the inflammatory genes. I mean, they're just like the worst of the worst. So what does that mean? It means that I shouldn't probably go out drinking each night, right? I should probably not consume the bread, pasta, cereal, crackers, biscuits. So, and I don't. I load up with a lot of the phytonutrients from my diet, from huge salads and things like that. I have a very wide range to build up my microbiome. Also, I do a lot of omega-6 foods and oils, like the cod liver oil. And so also, I got to be careful not to overtrain. I've been guilty of that. So there's just a lot of things. Once you find out about your personal weaknesses, then you can kind of change your lifestyle geared to that, so you don't end up with a problem down the road. So it gives you kind of some prediction on what problems you're going to have, whether it's Alzheimer's, cancer, whatever. So I'm going to be doing a lot of videos, and also recommend where to get a good test and all that very soon. But I will say it's a complex subject, and to understand it, it takes time. And so I'm digging through it, but I'm almost there.
Very good. Okay, audience is astute as always in getting the next answer in for quiz question number 2, which asks, what is the most important vitamin in preventing strokes? And our audience said 45% at least say it's K2, 30% say vitamin D, and 25% say omega-3s, and then the last 5% say vitamin C.
Well, if you notice, I said vitamin. Someone said omega-3, which is it's a nutrient. It's not a vitamin, but the answer is the most important one would be vitamin E in the form of tocotrienols, which is literally probably between 100 to 1,000 times more potent than the regular tocopherol. So you want the tocotrienols. You don't want the tocopherol. So what does that do? Well, first of all, it's kind of a driver to help you absorb more omega-3, the DHA, which is important. And also it's a very powerful antioxidant. So it can actually go in there and help with the damage during the stroke, after, and even as a preventative. So if you had a stroke and you're rehabbing that, you better be taking tocotrienols, because that's the research on that is tremendous, especially what it can do to prevent the fibrosis and the other stuff that comes after you get a stroke. The problem with the stroke is that you get lack of blood supply to an area. And then if you get it in time, of course, you want to call 911, and there's certain drugs that they can dissolve, and, if you get it within like 3 or 4 hours. But, a mini stroke is something that it doesn't have a residual, but a severe stroke does. So that tocotrienol is like a really important thing to take during and after, as well as before. But my whole thing is that's all real great, but let's go for preventing a stroke in the first place. And that would be changing your diet and eating correctly. So I have videos on that. That would be like the smartest thing to do. But if you're unwilling to change your ways, then you should be taking other things to counter some of the damage that's occurring from your diet.
Very good. Okay. Speaking of strokes, maybe this next question delves into that issue, Dr. Berg.
Okay. So what is the most important vitamin involved in lowering cholesterol?
Folks, get on that. And here's a problem that probably all of us have from time to time. Oleta from YouTube, I have a problem with hair loss from long-term stress and family problems. What can I do to save my remaining hair?
That is, that's a common thread with all the different types of things that can cause hair loss. I mean, because the stress depletes you of nutrients. The stress activates cortisol and burns out the follicles. In fact, a stress event can cause hair loss that's delayed up to 3 months. So it's hard to connect the dots. So, what you want to do is watch my video on oxytocin that's coming up real soon, which is fascinating. That's related to stress, and then do things to reduce stress and cortisol. So, of course, go for long walks, a regular exercise without overtraining, sleeping a little bit more, being out in the sun, eating a healthy keto plan is all going to help you reduce stress, and also fasting, intermittent fasting for sure. And then also take the nutrients that stress is involved in depleting, like the zinc, the vitamin C. So these are real key factors. And also vitamin D.
Good old vitamin D.
There's a lot of things. Yeah.
Okay, sounds great. And next, coming to us from Denmark, not the Netherlands, is pause. Pause. You're on with Dr. Berg. Make sure you're unmuted. Can't hear you yet. Unmute yourself.
Yeah,
there, Pause.
her mic is muted, so she just needs to unmute her mic because I can see it's muted.
All right, there she goes.
There we go. There we go. Okay.
Yeah, now, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, Dr. Berg.
Hello.
I'm so happy to meet you over this meeting. And I'm so excited. I'm very, very grateful to be here with you because you changed my husband and my life 4 years ago since we're doing your keto diet. My husband had a diabetes, but now we reverse it and have a healthy life and more strong, and everything is positive. So
Wow.
thank you very much.
That's awesome. You're welcome.
Okay, was that your comment? Do you have a question?
With that said, I'm going through this. I have a friend, a very good friend, who has a problem with gallbladder stones and enzymes, right? And the doctor want to take off the gallbladder next month, okay? And I introduced her into the keto diet. She started doing it and she get good result and everything. But suddenly she can't continue eating into the diet because the doctor asked her to stop, to quit from the diet, because he said the keto diet is not a good diet to be in while you have gallbladder stone and deficiency of bile salts.
Okay.
Okay, pause. Let's get an answer from Dr. Berg.
Yeah. So, well, might as well go all the way and just remove the gallbladder and the liver because the liver produces bile, and that way you completely eliminate the problem from ever coming back. Here's the thing. Honestly, I would scope out some other doctors that can look at the bigger picture. People associate the ketogenic diet, well, it's a high-fat diet. Well, it doesn't have to necessarily be just a high fat. It can be a quality fat, and it can be low carb, which is very beneficial. Think about this. What's the alternative? A higher carbohydrate diet, which actually creates more problems for the gallbladder. If he's concerned about fats, then why don't you just not add additional fats to the ketogenic diet and then add some bile salts and choline. And those two right there will keep the bile nice and thinned and happy and flowing freely. But, I had gallbladder problems very severely, and I've been on the ketogenic diet for a very long time. And before the ketogenic diet, what did I have? Oh, pain underneath my right rib cage, severe gallbladder problems. So he just doesn't understand what the healthy version of the ketogenic diet is. It can be very beneficial because even if you think about bile itself, what triggers the release of bile, which happens to help you dissolve stones? It's fat. It's saturated fat. Now you say, well, wait a second. I thought fats are bad for the gallbladder. Well, only if you take them with carbohydrates and also you can't tolerate it. So if you're going from a low fat to a high fat, maybe you just do it slowly so your body can adapt. But, you don't have to go crazy with the fats with the ketogenic diet. But if you can't digest them, you add things to help you digest them. But find another doctor who really can work with you.
Well, Paz, thank you so much for that question, and it speaks volumes about you that you would be interested in your friend's health after you've already benefited so much. And here's another, and boy, I'm so excited. Terry's been bashing me to get a graphic produced forever, and here it is. So for people like Paz, she can tell her friend about the Dr. Berg app that's now available both on the App Store, Apple's App Store, and Google Play. So get that, and you will have a source of knowledge second to none on your phone, in your pocket all the time. And by the way, Dr. Berg held back a little bit until he made sure that all the sort of little kinks are out of it so that you can really go on there and dig down and find the video that you're looking for, which apparently, according to Dr. Berg, is very difficult to do on YouTube sometimes. So, Dr. Berg, do you have any wonderful things to say about your app?
well, I created the app because I was like having a hard time finding certain things on my own channel. So, which is really weird. This happened like 2 years ago, and I remember October. I started searching. I'm like, I can't even find these videos. They're on there, but I'm like not showing up. So, created the app, and then that way you can have the resources if you need them. Like if you want to do a quick search, it just pops right up, and so it's a free app. Check it out. And you know what? If you don't like it, please let us know why. Because it gives us feedback. If you like it, let us know why, because I'm constantly trying to improve it. And so it's just another little resource for you. And also, just as an FYI, we're doing something on our website. It's called the 12 Days of Christmas, starting today. If you live in the U.S., it's free shipping today. If you wanted to check that out. Of course, we're not offering that in Europe because of the expense. But anyway, I just want to throw that out. And each day we'll have a different nice little surprise for you. So stay tuned for that.
How fun. Okay. Quiz question number 3 asks, what is the most important vitamin involved in lowering cholesterol? And Terry ferreted out the answer, which is 55% say some form of vitamin D, 35% say niacin, 5% say vitamin B3, and 5% say vitamin C.
Okay, the answer is niacin. That's B3. So a lot of you were correct. Niacin is quite fantastic. I mean, what I'm shocked is that this is not like on the front page of the news. Well, I know why. It's just there's no money in it, but there is some hardcore data that niacin literally not just regulates cholesterol, but it protects the inside layer of your artery from oxidative stress and oxidative cholesterol, oxidative LDL. It can actually reverse that. I mean, if you have heart problems, I mean, you should be popping these niacin through the day. You can get a 500 milligram time release. And, don't get the one that is like a no flush. You actually want the flushing response. If that bothers you, then take smaller amounts of it, starting out to gradually increase it over time. But boy, what it does for your heart is amazing on many different levels. So I just wanted to point that out. And so much research. I was like, why don't more people know about this?
Very good. Well, here's an interesting question. I'm sure many people around the world are on this odd schedule. Kathy from Facebook, why? Vanessa from YouTube. Can I lead a healthy life working from 11:30 p.m. to 8 a.m.? What can I do to improve my health with these schedules? A lot of times these places you work like that, they got one rotten sort of fast food vending machine where you can get a Snickers and that's about it. So how can she plan and survive that?
What was it? What was the time frame? It's what to
11:30 p.m. just before midnight to 8 a.m. in the morning.
Okay. Yeah. So that's a rotational shift, night shift, where you're going to have to keep your life stable. Like in other words, on the weekends, whatever, you're going to have to keep that. Unfortunately, I wouldn't rotate it back because the rotation really throws off the circadian waves and rhythm. One thing I would add to that, because everything is just kind of like shifted, is to buy some type of lighting, like a full spectrum light. They have them like these healing lights, so you can expose your eyes, your face to this natural light sometime at night, because everything is reversed. There's a lot of things that are happening with what the sun gives us and the darkness gives us. So you're just going to have to cope with that. It's a difficult situation. You're going to have to be taking vitamin D. That's going to help you as the most important nutrient, but also get that light, and maybe by your desk, you're exposing yourself to that light, for at least an hour a day. And then if you can get out in the sun too, at some point, maybe when you're getting up, or I don't know, before you go to bed. I don't know how you're going to do that, but that is it's definitely a stress on the body. It's a stress on the immune system. So yes.
All right. Well, I really like these questions. I think I speak for the audience too. You really learn a lot of stuff. And here's the next one.
Okay. What food is highest in quercetin? Quercetin.
Quercetin.
Can't
Okay,
even spell
audience, leap on it. This is interesting. Juan from YouTube, can a high-carb diet affect the thyroid?
Yeah, it can. Because when you're on high carbs, think about what's happening to your metabolism, right? It's a completely different metabolism. It's involving a lot more energy, wasted energy, than burning fat. And so the thyroid has to adjust. And this is why when you go on a keto low carb diet, the thyroid does not have to work as hard. And so you're not going to require as much of that hormone as you would if you were on the high carb diet. As long as you're getting all the nutrients, okay, you'll be fine to do the ketogenic diet. So that's why I always recommend the healthy version of the ketogenic diet.
All right, very good. Let's go back to our green room. And Jennifer is from Manila in the Philippines. And I'm going to unmute you, Jennifer. And hang on just a second. Click that. And we're asking for your one question to Dr. Berg.
Yes. Hi. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all to everyone watching. First, I'd like to thank you, Dr. Berg, and your team for this opportunity. So here's my concern. I'd like to ask, how should I respond to doctors? Well, I'm diabetic, and my question is, I'd like to ask, how should I respond to doctors who warn me about diabetic ketoacidosis, and those who really tell me to take statins because of my high LDL, but I have low triglycerides and high HDL. They say because I'm diabetic, so I'm more prone to so all those heart problems.
So are you a type 1 or type 2?
I'm type 2.
Okay. So I would go to the Virta website. Virta website. It's a group that even certain insurances will help lower your payments if you do their program. I mean, they have some great documentation that's more medical oriented, more research that you can then show your doctor. Because I mean, unfortunately, some of these doctors are not as flexible in their thinking as we would like. I mean, the bottom line is, if I were going up to a doctor, I'd say, so you don't recommend the ketogenic diet because of, and I'm a diabetic. Well, let me ask you this. So what is diabetes? And see what they say. What's the definition of diabetes? Well, it's a state or condition where you have high sugar in the blood. So why wouldn't lowering the sugar be a beneficial thing? And see what they say. I mean, this is like, so a 7-year-old could understand that. So then the next question is, what about the ketoacidosis, which would only occur if you're a type 1 and you fail to take your insulin. But going on a ketogenic diet is going to raise your ketones, but not, sorry about that, not in the level of, to the level of being dangerous, which is like 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. You'd be lucky if you get them up to 3 or 4. So there's a thing called nutritional ketosis. You should look it up. And the doctors just need to be educated on it. That's a very therapeutic thing. What do you think they did before they had insulin? They did low carbs. They did this. But then they invented insulin or discovered it. And then now they don't really focus on that. The only time you're going to get ketoacidosis if you're eating a lot of carbs, whatever, and then you don't take insulin. But you're not taking insulin, so you don't have to worry about it. It's actually, and then also as far as the statins go, it is true that statins will lower your cholesterol, but it doesn't necessarily decrease your risk of heart disease. That's interesting. So, there's a lot of controversy on the statins. I would find some of these books written by medical doctors on the dangers of statins, so you can get all that data, because unfortunately it's still recommended. I mean, if you took, and I'm not telling you not to take your statins, but if like red yeast extract works in a very similar way to statins, B3 niacin works very similar to statins. Mm-hmm. What about those? Those have virtually no side effects.
Got it.
Well, that sounds great. Well, thanks for representing.
Thank you.
You bet. Thanks for representing Manila so well, Jennifer, and thanks for hanging on, being our last green room caller. Now let's go back to the quizzes. And the latest one, which is the highest in quercetin? Did I say that right, Doc?
Quercetin, yeah, which actually is good for allergies and histamines and all sorts of things.
The audience knew what it was because 66% say onions or garlic, 20% say cabbage and other cruciferous vegetables, and 14% say citrus fruits. They're all over the place there.
Okay, well, onions are probably one of the best sources. So start including onions in your diet. Just yesterday, I love onions, and I put those onions right with my eggs yesterday. It was delicious. So I could pretty much have onions every single day, and I recommend it.
All right, now that we've cracked the caper about onions, let's go further into that. And this is a true falser, our one true falser for today.
Yeah. So true or false, raw onions provide more quercetin than slightly cooked onions.
Okay, climb on that, audience. And let's see, here's another one that affects a lot of people. Kayleigh from Facebook. What is the best way to address eczema issues?
Yeah, this is related to your gut. And so you have to fix the gut to fix the skin. And chances are you might be doing not just gluten, but maybe some wheat products that you have to eliminate, probably eliminate dairy and some other allergy, and start doing things to support the gut. Cabbage, I mean, like sauerkraut is a really good thing, but you want to build up your microbiome, probably take a probiotic, and then watch my video on bloating, because I actually go into that. The skin issues are, I mean, also you want to take vitamin D for like an anti-inflammatory, but eczema is definitely a gut issue because, they found even like these, like you hear of leaky gut, these little junctions or these spaces in your intestine. When you take like gluten, they just like open right up and they allow all sorts of food that shouldn't be passing through that barrier that pass right through, where your immune system is ready to go, what the heck is that? It starts to tag these proteins as pathogens and something that's foreign. And then now you have new allergies. Now you have antibodies against the wrong thing. Now you're more susceptible to autoimmune problems like Hashimoto's, it's just, it's a situation.
Absolutely. Well, this is no fun. Uma from Facebook, please share any advice for burning feet sensation at night.
Simple solution. You just go out, get something called benfotiamine, which is it's a B1. It's a synthetic B1, which is one of the only synthetics I recommend. And that B1 helps to heal the nerves. Usually the products with benfotiamine also have alpha lipoic acid. And so either one of those are good, but I like the benfotiamine. And sometimes with the alpha lipoic acid, you take that, and it's really good to help your nerves, which usually come from either a diabetic situation or it can come from other things too. But it's a simple solution. It works very well.
Very good. And the audience works very well. They're ripping through these questions. As I said, we have 6 today instead of 5, and by golly, we're going to get through them. And this latest one asked, or is a true falser? True false, raw onions provide more quercetin than slightly cooked vegetables. And our audience, 55% of them say, no way, that's false. 45% is true.
It's false. When you slightly cook these onions, you get a little bump. You get a little increase in quercetin. So like maybe 6 to 25%. But eat them raw too, but you get a little bit more. So it's kind of like with the garlic, right? You have to, and also sulforaphane, which is in broccoli sprouts. You have to crunch them and break them open to release an enzyme that then makes this active compound active. Well, same thing with the onions.
Okay, very good. And speaking of onions, this is the Onion Show. And here's our last question for the day, Doc.
Okay, which type of onion has the least quercetin? Red onion, yellow onion, or white onion?
All right. Let's go back to social media. John from Facebook. How do you feel about citrus bergamot to lower, I hope I said that right, to lower cholesterol? Citrus bergamot?
I think it's a great remedy, but also at the same time, you want to cut out the carbs, which actually inevitably raise things. So if you have also a genetic problem related to fats in general, if you have a weakness within an area, you want to add choline, you want to add some of the B vitamins, you want to add things like bile salts. So, and niacin, there's a lot of things you can do depending on your situation, but typically that is a good remedy for what you want to do.
That's terrific. Let's see now. Kathy from Facebook. Why is it that cruciferous vegetables bother me badly? Extremely gassy reactions. Help.
Yeah. Well, there's definitely something, it's called dysbiosis, or this imbalance of some microbe in your gut that, these microbes are supposed to help you break down this fiber, but sometimes we don't have the microbes there. So then when you eat these things, boy, it tears us up because they're not digested. And then what happens is you have this over fermentation problem. So then we get too much gas, different types of gas. And then we have pressure. And then, so you just have to avoid them right now and then slowly increase them in the diet over a long period of time so your body can adapt to digesting this. There's one cruciferous vegetable that I cannot eat or I will be in so much pain. That's broccoli. But I can do cabbage. I can do other ones. And of course, if you're doing Brussels sprouts, I wouldn't eat those raw if I were you. I would cook them or steam them. But yeah, so if you can't do the cruciferous, do other vegetables like salad and things like that. If you can't do that, go on the carnivore for a while. But, our bodies will eventually adapt to certain things if you give it enough time. But if your genetics have been adapting for thousands of years in a certain way, it may take a few thousand years to get them back to where they need to be, depending on the environment or what you're doing. But in the meantime, there's a lot of things you can do to cope with the problem.
Okay, my sounding the klaxon, that means that the audience has done absolutely incredible with their homework because they just answered 6 questions. We usually have trouble getting through 5. And it asked the final one, which type of onion has the least quercetin, red, yellow, or white? I'm such a fan of red. They didn't say red. Instead, they said 60% say it's white onions, 40% say it's the yellow ones.
It's the white because it's lacking a pigment. And these phytonutrients, especially quercetin, it's a pigment, which is an antioxidant pigment, just like a lot of the other ones, anthocyanins, carotenoids, the pigments. So this is why, like the dark purple beets or carrots or these different color type vegetables are good. But yeah, still do the white ones, but if you do the yellow or red ones, it's just you get a little bit more of that nutrient, which is very interesting. And I'm doing some. I have a device. I'm doing some research on this. I have a whole team of people helping me, but so I want to find out how can we grow food that is higher in some of these phytonutrients, and a lot of it. Of the past research has to do with, it really depends on the microbes around the seed when you're growing it, as well as in the soil. So we'll do a research. I'll do a whole video on that because it's a fascinating topic. And, it's related to a couple things. And one variable is the microbes and another variable is the sunlight. So if you're growing in a greenhouse with a certain growing lamp versus out in the sun, completely different phytonutrient spectrum. So it's a very interesting subject.
All right. Here's something interesting. Jillian from YouTube. Would nut rod work in my morning coffee in lieu of butter while I'm fasting? It has 0 carbs and a couple of grams of fat.
I think it would be fine. I think it'd be fine.
All right, have at it. And let's see, Elaine from YouTube, we're back to niacin. How much niacin should we be taking on a daily basis?
I would take 500 milligrams time release. And, there's not a lot of options as far as the type of niacin out there. So they pretty much all come from the same company. So I would take it. It seems to work regardless of the type on that particular vitamin. But niacin is also good for schizophrenia too, and even bipolar and even depression. So yeah, it's a real key nutrient for a lot of problems.
Very good. I love these handles. High Five from YouTube. Can the use of moringa help with the effects of IBS?
I don't know. You might want to try it. Moringa comes from a leaf from a tree. And so you can actually even grow it too. It grows very easily, but it's a really nutrient packed plant. A leaf. So will it help your gut? I don't know. I do know, for example, fiber might aggravate the gut if you have pre-existing damage. So that's really important. So if some people can't tolerate like vegetables because they already have existing damage from the seed oils that they consume. So one thing that I do is my wheatgrass juice powder added with water in there, because that has the benefit of the chlorophyll without the fiber. And that's really good to help heal the inner skin of the intestinal tract.
All right, very good. Charlene from YouTube represents a great many people in the populace, women in this case. What supplements would you recommend for someone who is postmenopausal?
Probably the most important one would be starting with vitamin E, because that's that's what they lose from having the loss of ovaries. So the vitamin E would be good. I would get in the tocotrienols. That would really help. Make sure you don't take a lot of calcium, okay, because that can be a problem. I would get the calcium from the food, and then I would also do the omega 3, the omega 3. I would say like cod liver oil. That would be good, and definitely start eliminating the omega 6. Very, very important. And then kind of go from there. But that would be important without having any further data.
All right, very good. And let's go back and brag about this app again. It's free. How many things are free? Well, this is, and it'll really keep you in tune. You have an absolute, like an old Star Trek tricorder. My goodness, you can answer any question for your friends you want. And, it's like Paz, right? She was kind enough to come on and talk about her friend who was ailing. Well, get them to download this app, and great things will happen. I noticed you mentioned, Dr. Berg, that they can't offer free shipping internationally, but you do have some remedies for the high cost of shipping, I believe.
Here's the thing. The products that I have in Europe definitely do not have maltodextrin. I can promise you that. So that's one big plus thing. But a lot of the products that people are taking in Europe are taking maltodextrin unknowingly. And, I'm just going to keep increasing the awareness so more and more companies will start to get that darn terrible ingredient out of their products because it's unnecessary. But it's very difficult to find companies that don't have it in there because, you have to pay more not to have it in there. But they use it because it makes a great spray and it's cheap. And but think about where it comes from. It's like it's just a starch, and usually from corn or wheat, which people have allergies to, things like that. So it's not a good product. I think what I want to do, Steve, is I want to go to the grocery store. And I want to look at all the products and then have like a little chart to determine how much of their products really have maltodextrin in them and also grains, and just do a deep dive on that, because you can see what a lot of people are consuming, a lot of grains. And how do I know that? Well, just go to the grocery store, look what's selling. But there's a lot of other hidden things in the food. So it's becoming more difficult to find healthy food at the local grocery store. And on that note, Stay tuned for some really interesting videos coming up this next week, as well as we will revene next Monday. Next Friday at our regular time at 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time in the morning. So have a wonderful weekend coming up here, and we will talk to everyone real soon.